Thank you for checking out today's video. I always appreciate support, and let's get into it. So this past weekend, we had all of our NFC and AFC championship games. So it was Championship Sunday, the NFL, typically the second best weekend in the entire NFL, right outside of Super Bowl Sunday, and boy, did it not disappoint. So today's video is called Aggression or Lack Thereof, and the Inevitable Happening. So today we're going to react to the AFC and NFC championship games. I'll give you all my thoughts, a breakdown of the games. I watched every snap of both of these games, so I've kind of been marinating on my thoughts, all afternoon. And I'm recording this about an hour and a half after the 49ers beat the Lions. So with all that being said, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe so you never miss out on any of the fun. And let's get into it. So let's start with Chiefs Ravens. Everyone counted the Chiefs out all year. Oh, this is the year that the Chiefs are at their weakest, and this is the year you gotta strike if you're gonna win the AFC and win the Super Bowl. This is the year. Is Mahomes overrated? The dynasty is dead. But you forgot. You're dealing with Patrick Mahomes, who is on a GOAT trajectory, a potential GOAT trajectory. I'm not saying he'll for sure get there, but we're talking about someone who, in now 6 seasons as a starter, in my personal opinion, has cemented himself as a top 5 quarterback of all time already. And I made a video about this last year after they won the Super Bowl, so make sure you go check that out too. But 6 seasons, 6 trips to the NFC Championship, four Super Bowl appearances, and he's only 28. And he does exactly what he needs to do whenever it needs to get done. He just gets it done. Already third all time in playoff wins. Already third. In 6 seasons as a starter. He's 14-3 in the playoffs. 14-3. That's nuts. That's absolutely nuts. I mean, the fact that people were doubting this team, and yes, as a Chiefs fan, I certainly had my doubts too, but I mean, you got Patrick Mahomes as the best defense of his career. That's a recipe to win a bunch of playoff games, and they've already won 3 this year. They've already got 3. They're going to go try to get another one. But Travis Kelce's resurgence during the playoffs, immaculate. I think this game serves as a reminder of who Pat and Travis Kelce are as all-time players. They had to remind the rest of the world this postseason run who they are. You know what I'm saying? Right? Count us out, write us out. We're gonna be here. We're always gonna be here. It's very similar to the way the Patriots were with Tom Brady. And I think it's really interesting to see the Chiefs become the new dynasty that people love to hate. I've seen this multiple times in my lifetime. The Patriots, the Warriors, the Astros, and now the Chiefs, or by the time I had gotten into sports, the Patriots had already kind of established themselves, but it got worse through my teenage and preteen, and now kind of into my young adult life. And then because when the Warriors started, oh man, Steph Curry's so cool, all this stuff. Hold on, I'm actually gonna sit up. Sorry, I was laying down, but yeah, here we go. They were the upstart dynasty, and by the end of it, by the time they got into their 5 finals, everyone hated the Warriors. And I hated the Warriors too, but that's just because they were beating LeBron all the time. So that's why I didn't like them. The Astros, granted, the Astros, their situation was exacerbated by the sign cheating scandal. So, even as an Astros fan, I understand. But, people were hating on them, because they were going to the World Series and winning it and, stuff like that. So, and maybe not the Astros are considered a dynasty, but a team with a lot of success and a lot of championship appearances and a few championship wins. This happens in sports. The Chiefs are just now kind of the dynasty that holds that title. And I think it's really stupid some of the complaints that are related to the Chiefs. Um, like, yeah, it's like, oh, the refs always favor the Chiefs, and we're tired of winning. But I think a lot of this stems from the fact that Taylor Swift gets shown too much. Um, I was looking at some statistics today during the first two playoff games. She was on screen for like, I think it was 4 total minutes over 6 hours of football. And then today, I think she had maybe 5 minutes of screen time over a 3 hour game. There's some like deep rooted societal issues with that maybe we shouldn't tackle on this channel specifically, but I think it's just fun as the fan of the villain team, I guess, now to see the evolution of, oh my god, like Pat can take down Brady. He can be the guy that overtakes Brady, to being Brady. I just think that's a really interesting evolution. But as far as the game itself, this is going to be a really tough game for Ravens truthers and Lamar Jackson truthers. I personally am a big fan of Lamar Jackson in his game. I've been defending him for a long time now. You go back on my Twitter, like when he was at Louisville, and I was tweeting stuff about him. But um, the Ravens had a miserable, horrific, horrible game plan. Let's just call it how it is. You can't be the number one rushing team in the league and then only have 6 rushes with your running backs. The Ravens are never going to win a game in which Lamar Jackson throws the ball 37 times. There's only a few guys on the planet where I would feel comfortable if they threw the ball 37 times in a game. And Lamar's fantastic. Top 5 quarterbacks, going to win the MVP this year. He's great, but what a horrific, horrible game plan to go in there against them with. What are you doing, Ravens? That doesn't. Why can't you just be who you've been all year? Like, truly and genuinely. And I think where my title part of it was like the lack of aggression. Lamar seemed really determined to win this game with his arm today. He was very hesitant to run compared to his usual tendency to run. There were several times where he's just patting the ball, patting the ball, patting the ball, patting the ball, patting the ball. Whenever he's typically very aggressive on running, and running when it's right, and it just seems so atypical of him. He seems so determined to win this game with his arm, and it was just kind of a weird thing to watch because that's not Lamar's game. Lamar's not going to throw the ball 37 times from the pocket and win the game. But that's why he's so special, because he doesn't have to do that. Throw the ball 25 times, run the ball, be dynamic athlete. I think that's what makes him such a great and a special player. And it's like almost today. I know he still had like a good number of rushing yards, but it seemed like he was very like he kind of alienated that aspect of his game, and I just didn't understand that. So I just feel like the Ravens had a really bad, horrific game plan offensively. Defensively, they definitely woke up in the second half. The defense played lights out in the second half. Kyle Hamilton is an absolute freaking monster. Oh my god, he's so incredible. I said this during all my draft stuff when he was coming out. I was like, no guys, like Kyle Hamilton, one of the best players in this draft class, and he falls to 15, and I was just so dumbfounded by that. You know, and then he played lights out. And so defensively, yeah, they kind of got scorched the first half, but defensively they played so well enough to win. I'm gonna address some common complaints from this game that I already know is coming. The officiating was not bad in this game. Um, yeah, I think they definitely missed some calls. There was the PI on OBJ that they missed in the last game, or in the last drive rather. Um, but I've heard a lot of people complain about the number of penalties that have been called on the Ravens versus the Chiefs, and I definitely think they missed some penalties on the Chiefs, no question. But those roughing the passers, completely valid calls. Like the taunting one is a big one. Everyone's like, oh, like Travis Kelsey literally was taunting after every um catch he had, and I definitely think Travis could have been called for unsportsmanlike a couple times during this game, so I get that. But the combination of Zay Flowers, it's I think if he would have done one of the three things he did on that play, or hell, even two of the three of them, the push, the ball spin, and the flex over, like that's gonna get called unsportsmanlike conduct every single time. Every single time. If you do all three of those things, that's what's gonna happen. I don't know why people are so upset at that. Joe Burrow gets on Twitter somehow that's soft. It's no, like if he would have done two of those three things or one of those three things, I think he gets away with it. But you can't do all three of those things. Like, what do you think is gonna happen? The Ravens just really beat themselves today. Three turnovers. Lamar has two turnovers. Zay Flower has that really crucial turnover on the goal line. Um, you can't turn the ball over three times against the Chiefs and get a lot of penalties. Very excessive penalties. Like the few roughing the passers on Mahomes were very excessive. That's why they were roughing the passer. Jadeveon Clowney leads with his helmet and hits Pat in the head. They're gonna call that. I didn't see really anyone debating this call, but like the one where Pat gets like hit in the head, um, and that got called like whenever Roquan Smith was just trying to jump on sides, was trying to jump off sides, but then instead of just drawing the encroachment or the neutral zone violation or the offsides, he knocks the goat over and gets a 15-yard penalty. And the Chiefs don't end up doing anything in that drive, but then they pin the Ravens. That's the punt where they were able to pin the Ravens on the one. If he just draws off sides and then they still get the stop, maybe they get the ball to 20 and not to 1. So the Ravens really beat themselves today. So I don't want to hear any narratives about the refs. I don't want to hear it. If you felt like the game was officiated a little more in the Chiefs' favor, that's fine. I think I'm okay with that because I definitely think they missed some calls on the Chiefs. Totally, no question, no question. Lamar's pick though wasn't PI. Isaiah likely would have had to box out all three of those guys to get that pass. It was way underthrown. That's why they didn't call it. But the Chiefs defense, they played great. They stepped the hell up. Um, and they're like Thanos. I am inevitable, and I'm super excited to see them in the Super Bowl. It feels really vindicating to me as a fan personally. Um, but the Chiefs played sounder football today. They made the plays when they needed to. Baltimore was sloppy. They were emotional. They had too many penalties, and they beat themselves. There's really no other factors. Yeah, sure, maybe the officiating didn't help that, but that's what happens whenever you play bad football. The Ravens played bad today. That's the truth. The Ravens offense played bad today. And that's just not going to do it against the Chiefs. And I think the Ravens are a great team, and I think they'll be back. And I think Lamar. I'm really scared for the direction this is going to take the Lamar Jackson discourse. I'm really scared. There's already some very derogatory and bigoted racial undertones with the discussion concerning Lamar Jackson, and I feel like this game is gonna heighten those and worsen that kind of dialogue around him, and I don't think that's fair to him. So I really am interested to see the fallout of how this is going to affect the discourse around Lamar Jackson. I think there's going to be some valid criticism that comes out of it, but I feel like maybe the criticism might be spun deeper than it may needs to be because that I feel like the criticism against him has always been too deep. Um, so we'll see. I don't think this takes anything away from what the Ravens were able to do all year. I just think they went in with a really bad game plan, and I don't really know what the decision was behind that. I think they would have stuck to their guns. I think this game would have been really close, and I think they might have even beat the Chiefs. But whenever you completely go away from what made you great all year, and you play bad on top of that, you're gonna lose the football game, and they did, So I think that's all I've got to say on the AFC Championship game. So in the NFC Championship game, so this is an example of a team being too aggressive. I love Dan Campbell. I love the identity he's built up, the grit, the heart, the toughness of Detroit. And Detroit has had one of the single best rebuilds I've ever seen, especially because of the culture and the kind of aura around the Detroit Lions of just honestly being losers. So to have such an organic rebuild where you crush it in, where you a turn Matthew Stafford, your most high valuable asset, into a bunch of picks, and you get Jared Goff, who's played himself into a new contract and cement himself as the Lions quarterback going forward, but you're able to hit on Jameson Williamson, Aiden Hutchinson, Jameer Gibbs, Sam Laporta, Brian Branch, Jack Campbell, Panay Sewell. Whenever you draft that well and build up this culture, you deserve to have success, and the Lions have. And I think this rebuild is one of the best rebuilds I've ever seen in my lifetime. Um, an extremely likable team. I had picked them to win the division this year. They exceeded, I feel like, everyone's expectations outside of maybe people in the building, but so really kudos. They've been a great story. I'm really excited to see them going forward. Ben Johnson's about to get himself a head coaching job. Um, but I think it's such a really cool thing to see them organically build like this because it's proof that with smart management and a coach that can install a good culture, you can get out of the mud and you can rebuild quickly. Like this was a 3-year rebuild. There have been teams that have been in purgatory trying to rebuild for a long time, you know. But I feel like this machine the Lions have created is sustainable. I think that's very commendable. All that being said, though, Dan Campbell's aggression got the best of him today. I'm a big proponent of going for a fourth down. I love it. I love it. I think it's smart. I think it's aggressive. I think it shows when you have faith in your players. That's one of the many things I love about the Texas Tech football coach, Joe McGuire. He goes for it a lot. It's one of the things I've loved about Dan Campbell. But you gotta pick your spots. And the two fourth downs are gonna get highlighted a lot, but I'm gonna harp on it too because I understand going for it the first time. Right? You've got this identity, you've got the momentum of the game. You draw up the right play, you just don't execute it. But the second time, you gotta take the points. You're losing the momentum. You call the wrong play, but even still, even if you don't know what play you're about to call, you've got to take the points there. You've lost the momentum. You can get it back. You can kind of pad the cushion that the 49ers still have to overcome, and then you execute horribly on that play. And Dan Campbell's aggression cost them the game. They did. They did. It did. It did. Sure, only scoring one time in the second half certainly contributed to that, but I feel like not getting those two fourth downs completely swung the momentum back the other way to the 49ers, and they just weren't going to give it back up. They just weren't going to do that. Um and it's really sad to see such a big part of the Lions' identity, what's gotten them this far this year, come back and bite them in the butt. Because they've been aggressive and they've gone for it on fourth down a lot. And tonight, it just didn't work out for them. And I think that aggression cost them the game. Shout out the 49ers, man. I think Kyle Shanahan was like, the 49ers were like 0 and 25 or something like that, down 10 points, or when they go down 10 or more points in a game. But they absolutely roared back to life. This was a Brock Purdy legacy game. This is a Brandon Ayuk legacy game. Brandon Ayuk literally saved their season. Whenever he makes an absolutely incredible play, that 50-yard bomb to get it off the tip and all that, and then go down there and then score the touchdown on the next play or the next couple plays. Absolutely incredible effort. Switch the momentum of the game. Um, let's talk about Brock Purdy though. Being absolutely bold in the second half. The first half, he played bad. It's kind of looking like maybe a repeat of the Packers game last week, where it's like, 49ers won, but Purdy was really shaky. He continued in the first half. And the second half, he comes out and he's firing. I'm talking dart, 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 using his legs. He ended up with, I think it was 48 yards on 5 carries. You know, proving, I think Brock Purdy has exceeded the game manager allegations this season. I don't think he's like the upper echelon, but I do think he's more than a game manager, and I think you saw that tonight. Brock Purdy's escapability, his mobility, his poise, and his ability to make a lot of the throws, um, elevate him past that game manager status. Jimmy G doesn't win this game. Jimmy Garoppolo does not win this game. Obviously, Trey Lance has won this game. The 49ers won this game because of Brock Purdy's ability to play the quarterback position. And I understand the 49ers are very loaded. CMC had, I was like, man, CMC kind of had like not maybe a great game, and he had 130 total yards and 2 touchdowns. Like CMC masterclass. And honestly, in my opinion, who should win MVP, but he's not going to. It's very quarterback heavy, but whatever. But we see why they have put their faith in Brock Purdy. Sure, Brock Purdy's shaky and not shaky. Streaky is the word I was looking for. I watched him play at Iowa State. I went to I go to Texas Tech. He was playing at Iowa State at the same time I have been at Texas Tech, and so I'd see him play against us and whoever and look really good, and then the next game turn around and look like he literally shouldn't be playing quarterback. So he's streaky. That happens over stretches of games. That happens within the flow of a single game. We saw that tonight. But when he's on, he proves why this 49er team was the favorites, until they lost to the Ravens on Christmas Day. But the 49ers, like, we know what they are. They've got this machine. They've made it the 4 out of the last 5 NFC Championship games. Like, they are incredible. We know this. And I feel like the Chiefs 49ers matchup was kind of inevitable. I mean, like, in hindsight, right? Like, Mahomes and his best defense against this machine who's been rolling over the past 2 years. And who knows? Maybe this would be round 3 if Brock Purdy doesn't get hurt last season, but it's a whole nother discussion. Um, Overall, though, we had really great games today. I think the two teams that played better made smarter coaching decisions, were more poised, and stuck to what made them good and actually executed on that won today. And that's why we've got Chiefs 49ers again. As far as actual Super Bowl preview, that's going to have to wait. We've got 2 weeks, so you're just going to have to wait on that one. But I promise the preview will come. All right, thank you guys for checking out today's video. I always appreciate your support. Make sure you guys check out the link content above. Thank you. Have a great day.